Proverbs 10:16, the labor of the righteous tendeth to life, the fruit of the wicked to sin. The labor of the righteous tendeth to life, the fruit of the wicked to sin. You know, it's easy to become discouraged and to feel like those who do right lose out. In fact, it seems like right now, it's those who do wrong that are really being promoted. You know, David often saw it and said that he had almost lost his spiritual North Star at one point, where he was no longer really heading the right direction. In Psalm 73, we've studied that together, where he said, you know, I just got to where he said, my foot had almost slipped. I almost just figured, what is the use of doing things this way when everyone else seems to be prospering and they're doing it the wrong way? You know, the only thing that brought him back was a trip to God's house. And it was that trip that what he saw when he went to God's house, and specifically what he saw in God's word, that confronted him with the truth. And that was this. You know, the world wants us to think that God's holding out on us, and that the only blessing that we might ever get is going to be in the sweet by and by, but the nasty now and now is just no fun. And there is no benefit to doing right now. And you know, the truth that confronted David was that we not only enjoy blessings then, but we're going to enjoy blessings now when we do things the right way. So now Solomon reminds us of this simple truth in this verse, where we read, the labor of the righteous tendeth to life, the fruit of the wicked to sin. Now I want you to notice as we read that, as you look at that, you notice part of that verse, you're going to see one word that's in italics. Do you notice that? Look at your text. I think almost everything, even if you're reading a digital Bible, it probably comes up italicized. And what that is, I want you to notice, we're going to look at this first of all. He says, the labor of the righteous tendeth to life. The labor, the word there has the idea of what you earn. It's the paycheck. In fact, in Romans chapter 3, if we'd look in the New Testament, the way it describes it is, the wages of sin is death. That's the paycheck. And what he's saying here, the paycheck of the righteous. He's not just talking about the actual physical exercise, but it's the end result of the exercise. And you know, as we've looked at Proverbs, we've always looked at it, they're balanced. He's presenting two sides of something. So we're going to look at the paycheck of the righteous, and we're going to look at the paycheck of the wicked. The paycheck of the righteous is, notice what he says, life. Now, we see the word tendeth there, and that's what I drew your attention to a little earlier. The word is italicized, and that's because the translators added that. It wasn't in the original. It wasn't the way the wording was, but to make it easier in English, he put the word tendeth. Now, that made a lot of sense many years ago. In our terminology today, when we use the word tendeth, it means it might happen. It probably, there's a direction that might work. It tends to go this way, and what it is, it seems to be an uncertain sound. But that's not what it's really talking about here. What he talks about here, he says, the wages of the righteous, and then he just says, to life. And what he's trying to describe for us is this is a certainty that the wages of doing things the right way brings life. Now, that word life is used figuratively as well as literally in the scriptures. And it can give you the idea of figuratively a better life. And literally a longer life, more life. And so what he's describing is, he says, the paycheck of righteousness is a better life and longer life. Now, you're not guaranteed that you're going to have a longer life, but what he is telling you is that you're not bringing obstacles into your life, because notice the balancing section there that he brings. He talks now about the wicked. Now, he uses the word fruit of the wicked. The idea there is the paycheck, that which is the byproduct of the tree of wickedness. The labor is the check the employer gives. We see in the first part of that verse. And what's interesting is an employer can always add a little extra in if he wants. But he doesn't talk about, a fruit tree doesn't look at you and go, all right, well, Dan did this, so I'm going to give Dan a couple extra apples, where when Pastor walked up, he gets no extra apples. In fact, I might even just try to present him with a rotten one. That's not the way it works, is it? It's what's on the tree, and he says the fruit of wickedness is sin. Literally, more of the same. So, even when we do wrong for the right reason, it always produces undesirable consequences. And maybe you've had that happen to you, where you had all the right intentions, but you did the wrong thing trying to get something done, and you had the right intentions, but the end result was you ended up with something that really had unintended consequences. You say, I didn't mean for that to happen. So what Proverbs is telling us here, righteousness brings refreshment and strength. The produce, the natural harvest of wickedness, is yet more offenses. Sin always brings a death or a separation. It saps the life God intended for you to have, for you to enjoy. And the encouragement tonight is, don't be deceived into thinking that God's holding out on you. He's not. The very thing we desire, strength and freshness of life, comes from doing right. We live in a wicked world. You're still going to run into things where you would say, why did that have to happen to me? We do live in a wicked world. You don't want to be putting things out there that are going to put more roadblocks in your life. Enjoy the freshness that God's blessings can bring today.